Google's gonna be making a smartwatch in 2019. Someone's gonna make me try it, and I know that. I'm gonna have to use it at some point this year, and I'm not looking forward to that at all. The more hardware Google makes, the more I have to test, because it's entertaining, and I know you guys love watching me get upset and angry, but I genuinely don't enjoy using the product. So, as fun as a video that may be, I'm not looking forward to the fact that I've tested Pixel phones in the past. I had a terrible time. I've tested Google laptops. I've tested Google tablets, if you can call them that. And now they're expanding the lineup, so I'm gonna have to test a watch, which means that a Google product is literally going to be attached to my body throughout the entire day, and I'm gonna have to give you my feedback on it. So there's a bunch of other stuff Google's releasing in 2019, and this is our first type of kind of rundown analyst giving us the leaks and saying what we should expect. But yeah, if you know anything about Google leaks in the past, you know that basically any analyst that is telling you that they know something about the Pixel lineup, it's probably true, because no one would lie about it, given no one would be that interested in Pixel rumors, right? Oh, Pixel Ultra, how we missed you. Let's begin. So this analyst did not have too much detail to go into, but I'll run down the basics. So for one, they said we should expect lower priced Pixel phones to be released in just a couple of months. Now, they didn't want to give us too much information on these lower priced Pixels, but if you watch my Pixel 3 Lite video I uploaded a while back, we basically know everything about it. In fact, the creator has already got his hands on one, unboxed it, and given us all the tech specs on it. So in case you were curious of that, no, there's no mystery there. We know everything about it. It's going to come in 2 sizes. The one mystery we don't know about the lower price Pixels is how cheap they're going to be. And this analyst says they'll be cheaper than the iPhone XR, which, I mean, they better be, but I'm hoping they're significantly cheaper, because if they're anything like the tech specs we've seen, these should not be premium priced phones. These should not be compared to the OnePlus 6T. Why? Because the OnePlus 6T would completely demolish it. If the Pixel 3 Lite leaks are real, which I'm sure they are, that means that these phones need to be priced basically beneath $400 in order to be considered good or decent in many different markets. So hearing someone say that they're cheaper than $750 is not that encouraging, because it's like, well, if their only objective with the lower cost Pixel 3 models is to make something cheaper than the XR, that could technically be $700 and $600. And with those specs competing with OnePlus, yeah, no, bad idea. I hope that's not real. And let's hope that when he says cheaper than a XR, he means like way cheaper than a XR, like half the price of an iPhone XR. In other words, keep those things cheap because they don't look very special. They're made of plastic, but hey, they'll have a headphone jack, so there you go. Now, he also says Google's expected to update their Google Home speaker this year. He didn't refer to the Home Mini specifically. He just said their regular Google Home, which has been out the longest and really hasn't gotten that much of an upgrade. So I think that's a good idea, and refreshing it in 2019 makes sense. And it's in fact quite possible that we could see that new Google Home speaker, the 2019 version that may sound better, be cheaper, be smaller or something, would come out at Google I/O, which is usually when Google launches their smart speakers and stuff like that. I could be wrong. They might end up pushing it off till the Pixel event, which will more than likely be in October. But yeah, you should expect at least one new Google smart speaker this year, but likely not the drastic lineup that we've seen in the past, like when they released the Google Home Mini and also released the Google Home Max alongside the regular Google Home. And then last year we got the Google Home Hub alongside the new Pixel products. I would just expect one smart speaker this year that'll probably be compact and small, but still have a little bit of a display on it, probably merging a lot of the features from the Google Home Hub and the Google Home Mini together to make one product that's likely to sit around the $80 price range. Now, to also no surprise, this analyst also said that we should expect the Pixel 4. Wow, where does this guy get all this information? It's insane. But yes, the sad news that I was hoping to never hear is that the Pixel 3 apparently didn't sell bad enough for Google to cancel the Pixel line, so you should be expecting a Pixel 4 refresh this October, despite all of the problems we had with it, all the design weird choices, and all of the glitches, microphone errors, software errors. Yes, Google is deciding to keep burning money on this project, so we're going to be seeing a Pixel 4 this year after the iPhone 11 series comes out. Keep that in mind. Also, the Pixel 4 will launch after the Galaxy Note 10 to give you an idea of what the Pixel 4 is going to be competing with. So if they're smart and they know it's good for them, they'll tackle that notch, even though they love that dual camera and they love having that ultra-wide lens on the front. They gotta find a way to make that notch smaller, maybe embedding the speaker that's embedded within that notch more into the frame of the device, but I know I'm asking for a lot here, because usually the Pixel design team is a year behind everyone else. so I imagine it's going to have the Snapdragon 855, of course, months and months and months after the Galaxy S10 drops, which is in just a couple weeks. But the question of the day comes down for me, what will the Pixel 4 do with their rear-facing camera, okay? They used to have this mindset of, we can do what other smartphone cameras can do with one lens, and they need more, but if you check Google's own loved source, DxOMark, they're giving the higher scores to the phones with more cameras, and Apple's rumored to drop their triple camera setup this year. Samsung has 3 cameras on the back, 2 cameras on the front. Everyone else has kind of jumped on this train of, hey, you know what? I think pictures and options for videographers and photographers are better when you have more lenses, yet Google keeps trying to do this balancing act of, oh, one camera, we do it all on one camera, but they're not anywhere close to where other smartphones are being scored now. Not to mention, optical telephoto zoom is an option a lot of people appreciate. Ultra-wide lenses, a lot of people love using on LG phones, and even the Pixel 3 XL. They put an ultra-wide lens on the front, but they don't want to add one to the back. They don't want to give photographers or videographers more options when they're taking pictures with the rear-facing camera, just the front, which in my mind, the question remains, is Google going to go back on their word about only needing a single lens camera to keep up with the times and to keep up with all the other smartphones that, not to mention, are outperforming them and also cheaper than even the lower-priced Pixel 3? And personally, I still think iPhones take better still images than Pixels. I know people argue with me on that, but you can't help but notice the options you get with an iPhone. Even if you're using a single lens camera like an iPhone XR, you take a picture, you have multiple different lighting options to choose from, and while you're taking the picture, you have the option of seeing the portrait shot before you take it. It's being rendered in real time, and also you can adjust the depth of the photo after the fact. So I can't just help but say that there's a lot more options when you're taking a photo, even with a single lens iPhone, particularly the XR, not to mention it's a lower starting price than the Pixel 3. So will Google try to keep up with the Pixel 4 and just cave and put a dual camera on the back? I know it goes against their word, it goes against what their company has always been up about, but they also mocked Apple for removing the headphone jack, and they didn't have any problem with that. 2 phones now in a row without a headphone jack, but now releasing a budget version with a headphone jack. So if you want to say that Google's all about keeping one lens on things and making that great, you have to look at their history and say, okay, they're not really known for sticking to their word. They'll go back on things if they're falling behind. So I anticipate that if Google was smart, they would add a dual camera on the back of the Pixel 4, but knowing Google, they might just try to keep this balancing act going and stick with one lens, even though the iPhone's going to have an ultra wide, it's going to have a telephoto, it's going to have a main lens, all of which are going to be capable of shooting 4K at 60, which the Pixel 3 still cannot do. But yeah, on top of all that, we come to the saddest news of today, at least in my mind. Google will be releasing a smartwatch alongside the Pixel 4 this year, and I don't know if you guys have paid much attention to Wear OS, but it hasn't been developing or changing that much because most of the third parties out there that develop these smartwatches aren't really seeing Wear OS as a big market. You know, the Apple Watch has kind of outgrown every other smartwatch and doubled it because it's insanely good, and the way it works with iPhones is insanely optimized, and Apple with the wearable market is quite literally crushing the competition. So yeah, there's no point in LG or Samsung making Wear OS smartwatches because they know it's not going to succeed. The good news is Wear OS watches do pair with iPhones. In fact, the reason they changed the name of the software from Android Wear to Wear OS is because they realized that a third of Android Wear devices were paired with iPhones. So Google was like, that doesn't make any sense, but we should probably change the name to Wear OS because Android Wear is kind of not accurate given a lot of people are buying Android Wear watches and pairing them with iPhones. So the Google Pixel Watch, or whatever they're going to end up calling it, is probably going to end up working with iPhones. So I guess the good news is if I have to test out the Pixel Watch for a month or whatever, I will be able to keep using my iPhone, and I'll just be sad that I don't have my Apple Watch anymore. But Google earlier was buying a lot of smartwatch technology from Fossil. While $40 million worth of tech may seem like a lot in the grand scheme of tech development, it's really not that much. But we're not exactly sure which technologies or which implementations they're buying from Fossil, but that leak in that report definitely indicates that Google is considering making a smartwatch this year, and maybe they're hoping that that's going to raise up the competition or make people more inclined to buy a Pixel because they can get a Pixel Watch alongside it. But you guys know my opinion of Pixel hardware. I always find it underspec'd and overpriced, and usually whenever I try using a Pixel product, I feel like I'm the first person to use it. Anyone else remember the Pixel Slate? That was bad, and hearing that that same design team is working on a watch really makes me nervous because it means that they're not going to pay too much attention to how the software works with the hardware, and it also means that it's probably not going to have as many features as an Apple Watch and yet be priced very similarly. So I'll keep my hopes high. I would happily be proven wrong if the Pixel Watch ends up being good. Every once in a while, Google will make something that is just completely wonderful, but it's quite rare. Like, I use the Google Pixel stand every day. okay, and I love that wireless charger. It's just a little expensive, but who knows? Maybe because they're buying a lot of tech from Fossil, the watch might work a lot better than I'm expecting, and the Google Pixel Watch might be like the best part of the Pixel line. Who knows? I'm trying to keep that part of my brain open, even though my last 3 Pixel products I've used were an absolute train wreck. I'm gonna just try to remember that there could be something good that comes out of this design team, and hopefully they test it, hopefully they learn from their mistakes and make something that's somewhat decent. But regardless, making a watch that can compete with the specs and the features, particularly the health features and the safety features of the Apple Watch Series 4, is going to be incredibly difficult. Not to mention, remember everyone, when the Pixel Watch comes out, the Apple Watch Series 5 will also be available. So if Google releases a Pixel Watch and it's $400, $500, and they may think that's competitive with the Series 4, the Series 4, by the time the Pixel Watch drops, is probably going to be $100 cheaper, and the Apple Watch Series 5 will be available with who knows what kind of new features Apple's implementing. So that's the hardware we should expect from Google in 2019. I'm definitely not excited, but I'm hoping they can change things around this year and put some care and attention into the products, and we'll see if I'm still part of Team Pixel by then, and maybe they can send me a test unit for the Pixel 4. We'll find out if they still want to send me stuff. Let me know what you guys are thinking of all the Pixel hardware down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.